Hello again from Firefly Ministry. When it's raining outside, like it's been doing a lot lately, and you want to just sit down, relax, and watch some TV, what shows do you gravitate to? Now, I'll have to confess that there are a handful of shows that if I'm not careful, I could waste a few hours watching. So what are they? Well, first, there's Alaska, The Last Frontier. This series began in 2011 and centers on the Kilcher family who lived on a homestead outside Homer, Alaska. The resourcefulness of eldest son Ivan encourages me in many of my scaled-down fabrication projects. His visit to the 4-generation-old family scrapyard of tractors, building materials, and rusty metal always results in a one-of-a-kind solution. And then there's the 2016 series, Homestead Rescue. When city slicker homesteaders get in trouble, they get schooled by the innovative Rainey family. Family members Marty, Misty, and Matt represent these homesteaders' last chance to succeed off the grid. Their last chance to survive off the land, to survive among wild predators and natural disasters. Now, most of the time, the Raineys have to attack the problem with just a handful of resources and a whole lot of resourcefulness. Now, probably my favorite series, though, is Building Off the Grid. That's because it sometimes gives me ideas for projects that I'm currently working on. To many of us, living off the grid eventually means creating a place that's disconnected from public utilities like electricity, water, and gas, and it allows us to use the natural resources that God has created. With fewer building restrictions holding us back, the sky is the limit to build that perfect off-the-grid home. This series has proven to be a great vehicle for teaching people like me how to live that independent lifestyle. The thing that's so intriguing about these shows is how much can be done with so little. Just the stuff immediately available. The art of improvising and adaptive stretches my mind. Now in Psalm 50, verses 10 through 12, we read, "For every beast of the forest is mine, and the cattle on 1,000 hills. I know all the birds of the mountains, and the wild beasts of the field are mine. If I were hungry, I would not tell you, for the world is mine, and all of its fullness." And while God has everything at his disposal, while he can provide us with anything we think we need, more often than not, he just wants us to use what we have. Like the time when the Israelites were still in captivity, and God asked Moses to go back to Israel and to meet with their leaders and tell them how God planned to free them from Pharaoh. Now, Moses was pretty convinced that the leaders wouldn't believe he had actually met with God. Let's pick up the story in Exodus 4, where Moses is talking to God. Then Moses answered and said, "But suppose they will not believe me or listen to my voice. Suppose they say, 'The Lord has not appeared to you.' So the Lord said to him, 'What is in your hand?' He said, 'A rod.' And he said, 'Cast it on the ground.' So he cast it on the ground, and it became a serpent, and Moses fled from it. Then the Lord said to Moses, 'Reach out your hand and take it by the tail.' And he reached out his hand and caught it, and it became a rod in his hand, that they may believe that the Lord God of their fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has appeared to you." So the Lord said to Moses, "What's in your hand?" That's what God asked Moses. Now, essentially, God was telling Moses, just use what you have. That's all you'll need to do what I'm asking you to do. This week, Pastor Fuller continues his series on the questions of God. This week's question, what's in your hand? I want to invite you to join us in our sanctuary this Sabbath for Pastor Fuller's message, What's in Your Hand? But if you can't do that, be sure to visit with us either on Facebook or YouTube for this Sabbath services. And until then, have a blessed week.